everybody. Thank you for joining me today. I hear a little echo, so I hope it's not too bad on video. But I'm here at the Brooklyn Park Library in Minnesota, Minneapolis area. And today I thought, why not give the whole presentation today? This still won't be as deep as a workshop that's one-on-one, but this will be very helpful to people who are just getting started and just need that little confidence boost. So, welcome. I am Roxanne, better known as Chef Roxy online, and I'd like to talk to you today about finding your first cottage food product. It can be pretty, confusing, finding that first product, finding that thing that you love to have, but for some reason, when you tried it before, maybe people weren't buying it. When it comes to that, sometimes it's more of figuring out what people really want rather than what we love. I know that's hard to hear, but sometimes that's what we have to do to get our foot in the door, no? Well, we're going to go ahead and get started. First, this would be for if we were online on a Zoom call or whatever. I would do some housekeeping to let people know what what things to do in order to have your microphone on, camera, raising your hand, skin tone, all of that. So we won't need this today. So I'm just going to start with my food journey. Starting at 6 years old, I was in the kitchen with my mom, and she gave me my own little special knife to help her cook, prep, like vegetables and things like that. So that was my first job in the kitchen. I was always under my mom's elbow. Probably got hit in the eye a couple times. But I love being in the kitchen with my mom. And that's how I got started back in the 70s. Everybody cooked a lot of their own foods even then. And my mom loved baking, so she was always making pies. And I distinctly remember her making popcorn balls, the caramel ones, and caramel apples with the peanuts on them, and all kinds of stuff. She was the mom that would come out with a tray of cookies for the kids in the neighborhood when we were outside playing. Because if you grew up when I grew up, you were not allowed to even be in the house while it was warm and sunny and nice outside. You played outside all day. So in 2000, I'm just going really fast here, I moved to Minnesota in 1992. So I've been here for quite a while now. And I've had this dream in the back of my mind for a long time, and I always wanted to be a cook. I always wanted to cook for people. It wasn't about competition. It was never about me trying to prove something, because I knew what I knew how to cook, and I felt confident about that. And it was never me trying to figure out how I could make something to one-up somebody else. It was never that. It was always, I'm good at certain things. There's certain things I have no idea how to cook. So I stay in where I know how, but I also love to experiment sometimes. And I've gotten to a point with cooking where a lot of times I can just smell if my food is perfect flavor or if it's not. I think that is a gift. That is a God-given gift. I can smell if it's salty. I can smell if it's too much sugar. I can smell if there's not enough seasoning. So that's just a gift that I've been given by God, for sure. So as I grew more and more, I would say over the years, I worked a lot of jobs. You know, my career job was being not a virtual assistant, I'm that now, but being a secretary. Back in the day, we were called secretaries. And then it became admins, or an executive admin. So that's what I do. I still really enjoy creating things for people, like websites and landing pages and things like that. And so I did those jobs, but I would get very bored, like working in offices of other people and all that kind of stuff. And I always was trying to hone in on my craft as far as cooking. And so I would want to go to chef classes and retreats and things like that in order to get better. And so I didn't get on the retreats yet, but I did go to many classes where I got to learn more chef skills and hone in on the craft. So in 2011, I was still raising my kids, but they were old enough that I could start, working part-time. And so I started working as a temp chef all throughout the Twin Cities, so I could learn how to get around a commercial kitchen, learn how to use the equipment. And I did that. I did that for a very long time. Up until last year, I have still been temping in kitchens throughout the Twin Cities because I really love doing it. But then I started really figuring out that I just am not okay with working in corporate kitchens. There's a lot of drama, there's a lot of this and that in certain places. And so I decided that I wanted to get out here and figure out, how can I help people with something that maybe I'm trying to solve myself. And that's how I got to where I'm at. So in 2014, I started getting curious, about being a cottage foods producer, which is someone who works from home, making foods that are potentially non-hazardous for humans to consume without going bad by not being in the refrigerator. I think that's a good way to say it. But in 2017 is when I really started to get more serious, and that's when I held my first open house at my home, showing off my baked goods, and inviting people to come over and just taste them and give me feedback and things like that. For some reason, I didn't really feel like I was totally ready yet, because I started to realize that I couldn't do a lot of things that I thought I could do in order for my business to move forward. I guess you could say I didn't read all the fine print. And it was something that I thought in 2017 that I could do while I was still raising my kids. So I got my first cottage foods license, and I just started baking and going to farmers markets to sell everything. And so now, here I am, still in a place of feeling like an island because I think